Hello, and welcome to Look Smarter Than You Are with OBIEE. This is the third part in our series on importing BSO Essbase databases into the repository. So we're going to right-click the database and choose Properties from the menu. I usually focus here in the middle on display columns because this is what users will see when they create reports. So the decision is, do you want them to see member names or do you want them to see aliases? And yes, at this point, this is an either or situation, but don't worry, we can show both in OB if that's what we want to do. So for this particular example, I'm going to leave this set to member names, and I'll show you how to generate alias columns in just a moment. I'm going to turn off cacheable because, in my opinion, Essbase is already aggregated, and so its performance should be very fast in OB. There's no reason to cache this particular data source, so I normally turn that off. I'm going to click OK to save my change. All right, so let's take a look at, how about Market? Let's go ahead and open up Market and take a look at what it looks like right now. So I have Gen 1 Market, memnor key, or member key I should say, and then Gen 1 Market memnor. And so the memnor is really basically the sort order that Essbase has from the outline. So that's how it's going to be sorted, is in outline order. Now I'm going to open up region, which, by the way, notice it doesn't say Gen 2 and then Gen 3 Market. Instead, in Essbase, the generations were named, and so it's using those generation names. That's a great tip. If you know you can name your generations like that in the outline, definitely do it, because when you import it into OBI rather, it's just that much cleaner, and it's easier for your users to go ahead and build reports off of a structure like that. I'm going to right-click the database again. And this time I'm going to go ahead and create columns for the alias table. And you can see here that it's giving me choices again. And notice that it considers member name to actually be an alias table. So earlier when I had right-clicked and looked at my database properties, if I had selected alias, I could now generate the member names right here, and the member names could be used to create a report. And you might say, well, what difference does it make? Well, depending on whether the member name is used or the alias is used, that is what gets coded in the SQL statement that gets generated. So if your aliases change frequently, you want to make sure the reports are built using member names, but that the aliases are displayed when the report is created. So since I already said I'm going to be using member names for the database, I'll go ahead and generate some aliases by selecting which alias table I want and then click the Create button. Now it's going to go ahead and generate some alias tables for me. So let's look at Market again. Now you can see that I have a Gen 1 Market -default column. That is where my aliases are stored. So that's all well and good. Let's talk a little bit about hierarchies. So here I have my market dimension, and in BSO, I have a single hierarchy. But if it was a hierarchy that had way too many children, it was hard for me to know what generation. This happens a lot in financial cubes where you have very deep dimensions, generation 15, 19, 20, not unheard of. It's hard to know where that member is when you go to build a report. So you can right-click on the hierarchy and go to its properties. And you can change the hierarchy type. So here I am in the physical hierarchy for the selected hierarchy. I'm on the Levels tab, and you can see my hierarchy type. And let's take a look at our choices. So fully balanced is sort of that perfect outline that almost never exists. It's not ragged, it's very symmetrical in its design, and it's just perfect. But unfortunately, the world is not perfect, and especially the world of Essbase. It generally just is not quite that symmetrical. So OB then assumes all hierarchies are unbalanced, which really means that it's skipping generations. So I could have a store at a very high level, the top level, that might go all the way down to a very specific store in a city where some of my other branches of that particular dimension will stop at a division level and then maybe have some department levels and finally get to a store level. So I skip levels along the way. That's what OB means with unbalanced. It assumes all of Essbase is unbalanced. Ragged balanced is more the missing of the children. So some members have children, some do not. So that's ragged balanced. Network is not used. And value, if you choose value, gives you a parent-child look and feel. So I have a top level, and then generations are combined, and then I only have the one. So I'll go ahead and choose value here for my market hierarchy and click OK. And remember, I had 3 generations. 2 of them were named. Once I choose the value, you can see what happens is it basically goes to the bottom. It takes that last generation and it goes and makes it just that. So now it's a parent-child list. And I think I'm going to change it back. Now, how do I change it back? I'm going to right-click the hierarchy again. Go to Properties. And I'll just set it back to unbalanced. That works perfect for what we're doing. There we go. And click OK. Now this outline is pretty small, so for us to set something to value would be pretty difficult, but I think I'll do it for my product because I'm not really super familiar. Okay, it is sample basic. We're all super familiar with it, but just play along with me for a minute and pretend that we really weren't super familiar with our products. What we can do is change product. So let's open up product and take a look at the generations. And here too, we have named generations as well. So you can see I see category. So I'm going to go ahead and select product, the hierarchy. So I'm going to right click the product hierarchy and choose properties from the pop-up menu. And I'm going to change product hierarchy type to value so that I have a parent-child hierarchy to show you when we go in and take a look in the web client. Thanks for watching, and look for the 4th and final chapter in importing BSO Essbase databases into the repository.